Welcome to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Two sports talking sports with those in the know on the Brouhaha Show.
Welcome to the Brouhaha, everybody. Getting right down to it. What about that Super Bowl, Dale?
Well, it was definitely exciting toward the end there.
Yeah. Interesting story. Look at, we talked about it leading up to it, last week. We looked at how even these teams were statistically going in and just doing a cursory review, looking at the total yards. LA had 315, Cincy had 305 rushing yards. And, you talk about win championships by rushing the ball and playing defense. Well, they kind of did away with that because the Rams only had 43 yards, and of course, Cincy only had 79. First downs, 18 the Rams, 15 for Cincy. 1.9 yards rushing for the Rams. That's pretty slim. Pretty slim. And Cincy had 4 yards, which is pretty doggone good. 4 yards of rush. You do that 3 times, you got a first down with 2 to spare.
You're correct. Cam Akers, the young man from Clinton, had a rough go of it up in there.
And what amazes me about him, we may have talked about this. He he had a ruptured Achilles at the beginning of the season. I wouldn't even think he could even be on the field. But, I think you mentioned this last week. We had another Mississippi kid, Darrell Henderson, running the ball for the Rams. He had maybe some couple of good catches.
He had a real good catch one time. It kind of got him going there one time.
Talking about matching up, passing yards, and it was a passing game. Passing yards per attempt, 6.6 for the Rams and 6.6 for the Bengals. How even is that, man? But now, when in that second half, when that Rams defensive front decided that they were going to assert themselves, I think Donald had a couple. They were probably triple teaming him over and over again. He wound up with a couple of sacks. Miller had a couple of sacks. I think the Rams wound up with seven times.
Yeah, that was Super Bowl record.
Oh man! So what a defensive. I guess the defensive part still might feel a little pressure. It's hard to throw that ball when you're running for your life.
It surely is, and that last pass kind of did define Joe Burrows in the second half.
Yeah,
just kind of a floater out there, and the young man really didn't have a chance to catch it for the Bengals there. And he had played. That was the Piron kid that was from Mobile that played against Wayne County a few years ago in the spring game when Benito and them were here. Remember, they had a really good running back and broke a long one against us.
Was that Baker?
Yeah, I think it might have been. He was rejected by Alabama and Auburn, ended up going to Florida, and now he's in the league.
He's in the league.
He's in the league.
Persistence pays off.
Oh yeah.
Georgia, the University of Georgia's had a really big year. Of course, they won the national championship in the NCAA, and then Matthew Stafford, who's been, I don't know the word, languishing away up there in Detroit for so many years. He gets to transfer down here, he gets to trade, gets to go to the Rams, and gets him a Super Bowl. You think it's his last? Is he retiring?
Well, now, I don't know much about Matthew Stafford. I just, followed him in college, and who follows the Lions?
Yeah.
I mean, really,
Yeah, we can say that down here in the South.
Yeah, I mean, who really does? I used to watch them when they had the little running back from
Barry Sanders.
Yeah. But since then, I just, he reminded me so much of Walter Payton.
Who would you pick if you had to play? If you had to pick one of those two guys, who would you choose?
Walter or Barry?
Yeah.
I think probably Walter, because Walter he seemed to, he could do everything.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't realize, he's a good passer. He punted, kicked. I mean, but I don't really know how you could decide, because
Couldn't go wrong with either one.
No, I mean, they're just such elite, Yeah. But I guess I have that Mississippi allegiance to Peyton,
I dig that. I'm gonna go with you.
There you go.
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
No.
Well, listen, we got a special guest tonight, that's coached the Rams, leading them to 2 NFC title games, coming up short against the 85 Bears and then to the 49ers in '89. Tell us about our guest, Dale, tonight.
I don't know. You're the one that got him this
No,
time.
no.
Yeah, you went fishing and lined one up. You tell us about your guest.
Well, I just did.
Okay.
It's John Robinson. John, had a great career in the NFC. I think he went to 4 Rose Bowls as coach of the University of Southern California Trojans, and just a great guy. Last 3 years, he's been in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as an analyst down there for Coach O. So we're really excited about it. Any memories of John that you have?
Oh, listen, I used to enjoy his teams when he was at USC, because they were always, they just had great players. You know, it's like he's going to tell in the interview, he had just tremendous players. Yeah. But I enjoyed him when he was the Rams too, and he had another great player, in Eric Dickerson.
Yeah.
And of course he'll fill us in about what happened to Eric. But I just liked him as a coach. And one time it's kind of forgotten in all this. He came out of retirement after the Rams and coached at ULV, and they came to Ole Miss and played Ole Miss, and it was one of those like 48-44 ball games. It was just crazy score, And, of course, I can't remember how many years ago that was, but that was probably, I don't know if it was during Brewer's years up there, toward the end of his tenure up there. But that's when Ole Miss, was not really good.
Right.
But everybody just figured like they're going to beat ULV because they weren't really good. But ULV scared them that day.
The age I am, I remember watching him, I'm getting a little old, long a tooth, but I can remember watching him storm those sidelines as coach. He always seemed like such an imposing figure. But talking to people that I met him through that know him, and when we talk to him, he's just a kind, gentle guy, But boy, when it comes time to hook it up and play football now, Coach Robinson's all business.
Well, I think he's one of those old school coaches. We're gonna practice them. We'll practice them hard, and hopefully they'll play hard on Saturday night or Sunday afternoon or ever when it is. And he was just old school. We're gonna come at you, stop us. And of course, at a place like USC, you don't get the athletes that you want really back in those days. He had Marcus Allen and Ronnie Lott, that's pretty big. Ronnie Lott to me was one of the fiercest competitors. I remember the Saints and the 49ers used to have some battles in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And Saints were pretty good. That's when Sam Mills.
They really were good, but the 49ers were the top of the game during that time.
Yeah, they were just a little bit
Ricky,
better.
And
I think it came back to the quarterback situation where they had Montana and Saints had Bobby Hebert. Nothing against Bobby Hebert. Yeah. He was a good pro quarterback, but he wasn't great.
Yeah. Like Joe Montana.
Yeah. Joe. Yeah. And
we talk about Coach Robinson when we get in the topic of Southern California, and I enjoyed watching the Trojans back in the day. There was such a mystique, such a deal with that team when they took the field, and you talked about the players that they had greats, greats, and I was trying to think. That buzzer went off, Dale, and whenever it locked me up. That buzzer on that telephone.
That was a 2-minute warning.
Was that a 2-minute warning?
Yes, sir.
Well, boy, I'm not good under pressure.
That's true.
What I was going to say was, before the buzzer went off, was you're watching those guys out there, and what a program, one of the premier programs in the country. And they've really had their troubles the last few years. I guess since probably last 10 years or so, they've had problems. But you think about recruiting, and you think about the players around this country that come from California. Well, just look at the number of people that is in California. Mississippi's got 2.9 million, and I don't know how many is in California, but the numbers are there. And where there's numbers, there's going to be players. And with what Southern Cal is doing with a commitment to Lincoln Riley coming out of Oklahoma with the success he's had, I'm thinking, and I could be wrong, that Southern California is fixing to turn into a force.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah.
They've needed a good coach. I think they've been on, ever since, I guess they They come back from a ball game and they fire Lane Kiffin, and I think others saw that, and they really never did step up and really hire a named coach. Urban Meyer was out there for a while. I know he didn't do well for Jacksonville, but he was out there. Why couldn't they talk him into it? But they went through a lot of athletic directors too and things like that. But they would definitely be back. But the thing about it, I've been to their campus one time. My daughter-in-law, Katie, is married to my younger son, Brett, and she was going to get her master's there, so we flew out to see the ceremony where she was going to walk across the stage, and so they have a little area like the Grove. It's just not as big. But boy, I heard that fight song not one time, not two times, probably 25 times, during the ceremony.
Yeah.
It wasn't the whole thing, but they get your juices going and other people, And I don't know how many they crammed in there, but of course they do graduation a little bit different out there. They don't have it in one place where 5,000 people go across the stage. They'll say, okay, you people go to this hall, you people go to this hall, and we were in an old theater, I guess, right next to campus there. But it was a great experience going there.
Well, we got a lot to talk about with Coach Robinson. We're excited about him. We're going to get to him in just a minute. But first, we're going to hear from our sponsors, and Dale and I will be back. What? You give me some hand signals,
No,
man.
go with it, man. I'm excited.
Okay, all right.
Coach Robinson.
That's right. God, we're going to be right back with Coach Robinson. But first, a word from our sponsors, and Dale and I will be back right after the break.
Do you have any roof damage or missing shingles? Do you need a roof inspection to ensure your roof is functioning properly? Look no further than the roofing specialist Jackson Brothers Construction Services. We are here to service you with affordable prices, amazing customer service, and quality work you'll be proud of. Call us today at 251-295-6442.
The Jackson Brothers Construction Services. They'll do you right. You heard it here first.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to the show, Coach John Robinson. How you doing? How's everything in the great state of Louisiana, Coach?
Well, the food is good. Weather seems good, and can't beat that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, we know, you got a long, storied career in coaching football at every level, and I've been wondering, a coach has accomplished as much as you have. What got you interested in coaching in the first place, Coach Robinson?
Well, I think I grew up with John Madden, who just passed away.
Yes, sir.
And we both decided we were going to be great players. But we were both slow, and so we were going to be great players. So we started thinking about coaching. I think at an early age we thought about that, and then both went into it. I was lucky enough. I went to Oregon, University of Oregon, and they hired me on the coaching staff when I graduated. So I got a quick start.
Yes, sir. You mentioned Coach Madden. He sure, as you have, he certainly made his mark on football, and I know the league and the country lost a treasure when we lost him. We were sad to hear that.
Yeah, he was a great coach and also a great person for the sport. I think his announcing years were the best for the NFL.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is Dale. Wants to ask you a question, Coach.
Hey, Coach, let me ask you about a question about Coach Madden. How did he handle all those renegades in Oakland at such a young age?
I don't know. And he had a marvelous ability. He loved the defense. He's an offensive lineman. And I think that was a key for him. He loved those kinds of guys, and he wasn't intimidated by them. He kind of put his arm around them and say, hey, I want you to do this, and they did it, and they loved it.
You know, you mentioned something about being intimidated, and I want to ask you this. I know you've coached, you had a stint as an offensive, as a coach in high school, I think, for maybe a year. Then you were, of course, at Southern Cal and at the pro level. How much difference did you find it, if any, coaching between college and the NFL?
Well, there wasn't much different. I think in the NFL, the players, it was their livelihood, and it meant a great deal to them. So they were primarily interested in that. And now I think they were all in when you started. Now, they would get off the bandwagon if things were going bad. But they were committed, probably more committed than the college kid, because the college kid has girls and all that kind of stuff, school. So it was a few more diversity type things for the college kid.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, with the game like it is today, you know, particularly in the NCAA, with the changes, with the transfer portal and the NIL, being a guy that's been around football and seen it, you know, pretty much everything there is to see, what's your take on this new, we'll say this new setup in the NCAA with the portal and the NIL? What do you think about that? Is that good for the game, or where you stand on that?
I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows. Everybody is just kind of jumping in the pool and saying, hey, let's see who can swim. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. I worry about some things. I think that the transfer rule is questionable. If you don't like it in a certain place, you just transfer.
Yes, sir.
Or if you need a quarterback, you can go out and kind of whisper and try to find a way to get a guy to transfer. So it's an area where nobody quite knows, and also the intrigue that's going to go on about well, if you come here, you can do advertising in such our local school, and we will make you a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
And they're talking about lots of money involved here.
Yes, sir. You know, I want to jump back to your time at Southern California. I believe I'm correct in this. 2 non-consecutive tenures there, 4 Rose Bowl wins, and a national championship in '78. Let's talk about your time at Southern Cal and fond memories, people that made an impact on you, places. Share with us about some of your thoughts on your time at as leading that Trojan program out there.
Well, it was a great program, and like all things, you don't get to stay on top forever, but it was great, and we had very good teams, and we had some really great people, some Hall of Famers, Ronnie Lott, a defensive back, Marcus Allen, a tailback, Charles White, a tailback, Anthony Munoz, a whole bunch of people like that were the best and the Hall of Fame type people, and they were just a lot of fun to be around. And, of course, the winning was great.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Dale. Dale's got a question.
Coach, Marcus Allen, of course, he was the first college player to ever rush for 2,000 yards. But what made him so good? Because I know you had great offensive lines, but I believe that guy could have run behind any offensive line the way he could.
Well, I don't know about that, but he had great balance. Everybody's got physical gifts. That's up there, and he didn't have great speed, but he had great balance and could do just about anything from a balance standpoint. And so I think and he also had great ambition. All the players that are great athletes and are willing to work at it, they are dedicated, care about it, and really, for the most part, very good people.
At your time at Southern Cal, what do you think is the biggest memory that you would have, a fondest memory coming out of that time there?
Oh, probably my first year. First year we went to the Rose Bowl and won. Came in second in the nation, probably. We're close to first, but came in second. That first year, when you say, "Hey, I can do this," that was a big thrill, and so I think that probably sticks out.
Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, us being from Mississippi, we don't know kind of the heartbeat of the Trojan fans, but what game was more important to them? Was it the UCLA game or the Notre Dame game?
It depended where you were. Both of them were, but probably UCLA. Because that was so heated, and the conference championship meant the winner of that one usually won the conference championship, and that meant you were going to the Rose Bowl if you won that. Notre Dame was big, and it was great fun, but I think UCLA.
Yes, sir. Let's move our attention up to your time at the Rams, and I believe you made 2 trips to the NFL championship game. One of those was against the Bears in '85, and you came up short. People say that the '85 Bears defense may have been the best defense in history. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree. We didn't score any points. I agree, and they had great players, and they had that spark, and it doesn't last very long. And not very many champions are champions for years and years in the NFL.
Yes.
But it was a great team, and we played them in Chicago, and everybody in that city was involved in that. So it was an exciting game, but we came out on the short end.
Yeah. You had another shot at that NFC National Football League title in '89, I believe, against the 49ers. Anything stick out to you about the Niner team you faced?
Well, they were one of the great teams. They were a much better offensive team. Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, they had any kind of number of guys that were our Hall of Fame type guys. So they were fabulous, and they had a fabulous coach, Bill Walsh.
Yes, sir.
Who, I always thought was one of the top 2 or 3 best coaches around. But that was a big rivalry. The 2 teams hated each other, and we played. I think in my 9 years with being in the NFL, we played the 49ers. I think 20 times. We played them twice a year, and then we played them in the playoffs a lot. So it was quite a challenge.
Well, I've been a Saints fan all my life, ever since they came into existence. And I remember we had some tough times down here, but we really got kind of good there during that period in the late 80s and early 90s. But I'll be dadgum to San Francisco. I mean, during that time period, they just about beat everybody all the time. It was a great run they had for sure.
Yes, no question. It was tough. And I always loved coming down here. We would go out and there was a restaurant in New Orleans. Of course, there were a lot of this one particular one, Jimmy Moran's, and we would go out there, about 10 of us, and we would try to eat all the food, and we could never do it. But we had a great time and loved New Orleans, and love New Orleans now. We live here. We're going to stay here permanently. I've officially retired, and my wife is from this area, so we're really Louisianians now.
Well, that's awesome. You were at LSU, I guess you know. What brought you to LSU? And tell us about your experience with the Tigers these last few years.
Well, Ed Ogeron brought me to LSU. I thought he was a great coach and a great guy. He was one of the best, period, that I've ever been around. I was retiring. We were friends, and he said, "Come on down and help us." And so I was in an advisory role, which meant I picked up all the towels and T-shirts. won the national championship with probably one of the top 2 or 3 teams that ever lived in the NFL. We won 15 games that year. Nobody has ever done that, and it was a wonderful thing. Now, we had a veteran group, and they all left, and they all, the ones that were juniors went into the NFL, and so we staggered the next year, but we sure had a great year that first year.
Well, tell us about the play of Joe Burrows, and do you still follow his career at Cincinnati?
Oh my God, yes. We're going to be sitting here ready to watch that game Sunday. He was one of the great competitors when I was first coaching. I had a quarterback that played for me, Dan Fouts, who was a great player. He played in Oregon when I was there. But certainly Joe Burrow is one of the great quarterbacks that I've ever been around, and such a competitive guy. I mean, we've all seen that with Cincinnati, and you saw it with us at LSU. He could play this game now, and he's a tough guy, and all the things you want in a quarterback.
Yes, sir.
Another great one that you played, Coach, was Eric Dickerson, and just
Yes,
I mean he was just phenomenal talent. But I remember he kind of upped and left y'all in a bind there.
Yeah, he was really a great runner, and we ran the ball a lot. I had come from SC, and we're used to being successful with the running game, and we had a great offensive line. And we were successful at that. Eric was a good player, a good guy. We just didn't have the financial agreements with him that we should have had. We should have found a way to make him a Ram for life. And we got in these discussions, I guess you'd call it, and I never got involved with it, but it was certainly just turned out the wrong way.
Well, at that time, you guys, I don't think your owner wanted to spend a lot of money back in those days, did she?
She wanted to buy clothes, I guess. I don't know. Any discussion like that, there are 2 sides to it, but
Sure.
We came out on the wrong side.
Well, you got some good draft choices, I hope, out of the deal. At least that.
Well, that was disappointing. Actually, the draft choices we had, we thought were good, but weren't that good. Anyway.
Well, listen, back before Saturday night TV, they just televised about one game a year. So back here in Mississippi, we got to see USC play a few times, especially in the Rose Bowl. But I remember listening to the radio one night. LSU's radio signal used to go in all over the South. And I was listening to USC and LSU in Baton Rouge, and I don't even believe I could hear the play-by-play man because of the loud crowd behind him. What was your thoughts about that game?
Well, it goes down now. A lot of LSU people say that was one of the loudest that they've been. For some reason, they were just really focused, and they, for most of the game, beat the hell out of us. I mean, we were barely hanging on. And then we got going at the end and scored twice and won the game. But it was in the last 30 seconds that we did win. But it was one of my biggest experiences. And for a lot of people here, they have memories of that game. But we were, and we were treated great. People were great to us. And just they were brokenhearted when they lost the game. My wife had graduated from LSU and was working in Louisiana, and she was there at the game, and she had some nasty memories of me. She called me every name you could think of.
Maybe that's why she married you. I don't know.
Well, Coach, we're going to close this thing out pretty quick, but I want to ask you this: if you got any advice for a young coach starting out, what would you say to them? How would you encourage them? What would you tell them?
Well, I think it's anything with anybody in any kind of emotional relationship. If you have a relationship with somebody, you've got to care about them. You've got to be involved with their lives. And on a football team, you've got 60 or 70 guys. And as a coach, that has to be the prime focus. You've got to care about those kids. They're 15 years old, and if you're in high school, and boy, they need help. So I would say that's probably and get good players.
Yeah, that always helps, doesn't it?
Good guys that are fast.
Hey, you know, your good friend John Madden, he said once that coaching is not work, but it's a lifetime commitment. Do you agree with what John said?
Oh, sure, and I think everybody coaching does that. When you're in it, I'm sure there's more committed people in war and the military and all of that, but you've got to be committed to be a successful coach.
Well, Coach, Dale and I sure do appreciate you taking time to visit with us today. It was a real treat, and I want to thank you ever so kindly for joining us, Coach Robinson.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and you've got a really successful coach over there in Lane Kiffin.
Yes, sir.
So things are going good there, so go Ole Miss.
Hey, yes, sir.
Hey, what about USC? Do you think they're going to be back in the national spotlight?
I think so. They certainly there's talent there in Southern California, and they just got to get them to come to SC.
There you go. Well, folks, that's about all the time we have for tonight. Remember that you can follow us on Facebook at the Brouhaha and on the YouTube at the Brouhaha as well.
Do you have any roof damage or missing shingles? Do you need a roof inspection to ensure your roof is functioning properly? Look no further than the roofing specialist Jackson Brothers Construction Services. We are here to service you with affordable prices, amazing customer service, and quality work you'll be proud of. Call us today at 251-295-6442.
The Jackson Brothers Construction Services. They'll do you right. You heard it here first.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody. What a treat, Coach Robinson. We sure appreciate him and what he's meant to, sports in our country. And what he still does. What a great man. But Brouhaha friends and Dale, we're out of time. But I want you to be sure to stay tuned for Wayne County High School War Eagle Football Show with Coach Jack Hankins coming up right after we sign off. And then be sure to join us next week. Dale, you got somebody lined up for us next week. Who you got coming in here next week? Do you remember?
Well, we have another Heisman Trophy winner.
Another Heisman Trophy winner. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Well, he's a Saint. He's a former Saint.
First round draft pick.
Yeah. First round draft pick. Let's leave him hanging here.
Let's do a little research. He's a Heisman Trophy winner, and he was the first round draft pick of the New Orleans Saints.
Let's even trick him more. His team he played for in college is in the SEC now.
All righty.
But they weren't when he played.
All righty. Be square or be there, folks. We're going to be coming next week with another Heisman Trophy winner. But now, you know what time it is? It's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
And Dale and I will see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Take us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.